What is up, you guys? I have not made a video in a long time, but if you haven't been here before, my name is Grady. I listen to country music on this channel along with whatever else I want to. And I'm excited to be back. If you saw YouTube Unlocked community posting for me, so I was actually able to post a little update of kind of where I've been, what I've been doing. Long story short, I'm just helping my workplace get through a difficult season. And it's like my hours are kind of doubled right now. So I have not had the margin to do YouTube, which has been killing my soul. But it's all good. I've been on my fitness grind. I've been on my work grind. And things are good. I'm losing weight. But now we're headed to Thanksgiving, so I got to resist all the treats. Because I'm going to be leaving this season of life in a couple weeks, I wanted to get back into the YouTube rhythm. And I wanted to make my first video coming back onto this channel about an album that you guys have been requesting and I've wanted to make a video about, and that's Eric Church's Desperate Man. It's no secret to watchers of this channel that I'm a big Eric Church fan. You know, I wrote about Mr. Misunderstood quite a bit when I was writing for The Guardian. I love that album. It is one of kind of the country albums of our lifetime, I think, and I really believe it's just going to keep aging better and better and better. And so this is the follow-up to that 3 years later, and I was so excited to give it a listen. So let's get into this review of Desperate Man by Eric Church. Eric Church has done a really good job in the last 5, 6, 7 years of really branding himself kind of as an insider but an outsider within Nashville. Obviously, he's on a major label, he gets big radio play, he can fill up arenas, but there's a lot of things that he does kind of his own way. Eric Church is someone that plays these like big 3-hour shows with no opener. He dropped Mr. Misunderstood by surprise. In the video for Desperate Man, the latest single, or the launch single from this album, he's kind of seen as like tricking his own record label. And I think Eric Church is kind of, you know, with his aviators and his leather jackets, he's really marketed himself as a maverick quite effectively. And I think it's made him one of the more fun country stars to actually follow, whereas so many people are just on the Ken doll assembly line making the same freaking song, whether it's Good Girl or Hanging On or whatever it is, and it's infuriating to not be excited about artists and wonder what they're gonna do next. Eric Church keeps you guessing, and so I think his releases are some of the most anticipated within country music, and it's very fun to follow. You know what I mean? Eric Church is like a rock star in a really good way. We need a little bit of danger. We need a little bit of unpredictability. In the lead up to this album, Eric Church did a Rolling Stone cover, which became one of these weird rock star moments of controversy because he talked about politics. And I just want to say up front, I'm not really going to get into that at all in this review. I feel like 99% of people read that interview and are like, yeah, he seems sensible. He seems like he sees both ways on a lot of issues, which most people do. But the kind of minority of the internet, like the 5,000 people that want the whole world to be fighting that are on Twitter, they kind of had problems with it and blew it up into this whole stupid thing. And I thought that was really unfair and really dumb. Here for the music, and I'm here to know about like Eric Church's life, and because that's what I really got out of Mr. Misunderstood. He was this bad boy that was now kind of a dad and wrestling with like, am I uncool? You know, am I holding my own still in this music scene? And what I'm really pleased to say is that on Desperate Man, I'm getting more of Eric Church's soul, and that's much more interesting to me than his political opinion. Okay, let's talk about this album, because it's really, really good. It's a really good album. It's kind of a more subdued album and a more spiritual album as Eric Church continues his soul searching. Right off the bat with the lead single, we got this idea of Eric Church being a desperate man. He's searching. He's looked at the Joshua Tree. He's gone to the fortune teller. He's seeking answers in some way, but he's a desperate man. And that is really carried through, I think, in a few other places on this record. The whole thing starts with a song called The Snake, which he wrote with Jeremy Spillman and Travis Meadows, and it kind of gets into this sort of primal Garden of Eden nature. It's a conversation between a copperhead and a rattlesnake, and they're like having this odd conversation. They're like, I bet I can make her take a bite of the apple again. And so immediately we're sort of in this swampy sin-filled, questioning space as we enter into this album. And I think there's a little bit of a thread of that goes kind of all through it, as Eric Church is searching for who he is and what kind of man he's going to be. And that's really carried over, I think, from Mr. Misunderstood. The Snake is a really interesting way to open the album. It's a fairly meandering song. It's very conversational. It's a long intro that's pretty quiet, and I kind of wish it weren't there. I kind of wish that long guitar weren't there, because I think it's almost too gentle of a way to enter into an album, especially because Eric Church is so exciting and he can rock out, and he kind of is this like Rolling Stonesy type character. This album's definitely influenced by the Rolling Stones. You got a lot of tambourines, you got a lot of hollering and background vocals, and it's really fun to listen to in its peak moments. But on the whole, if I had a major criticism of this album, it's that it's maybe underproduced, which I feel like I'm rarely saying about albums. I feel like they're always like, can we strip this back and get to the point? But Eric Church, I mean, he's a great writer. I'm not worried about his words getting sucked up into the music, but in this case, I feel like the music could have, emphasized some of the points that he was making, and I feel like it's a little too gentle of an opener and of a closer on this album. But that's not to say there's not a ton of excellence here. That kind of 1960s soul rock sound that you hear on The Snake, that is carried out through the rest of the album. You hear it on Hangin' Around, which is a really whooping, hollering song. You hear it on Higher Wire. You hear it on Desperate Man. You even hear it in parts of the track Closer. And it's fun to listen to. It's not that kind of heartland rock that he's known for on songs like Springsteen or on like the entirety of Mr. Misunderstood. This is going to be much more of a sparse kind of hollering, almost voodoo-y influenced kind of sound. And that's different for Eric Church, and it's a cool change. This is a very weird record. I mean, there are songs like Higher Wire where you get this like like almost like a vocal theremin kind of sound, and he makes some very strange choices on this album, like the long intro with the snake, and it's cool. I mean, I'm glad he's doing it, and I love that Eric Church feels the freedom to kind of go where he wants. Now, does it make for as effective of a record, as tight of songs? No, it definitely doesn't, but it's fun to hear those. Now, there are places on this album where Eric Church's writing shines through in ways that I absolutely love, and where the music and the lyrics come together in these incredible ways that are just transcendent. The first one of those that I would say is like, man, there's a really strong streak of tracks 3, 4, 5, 6. It is boom, just like 4 awesome songs that are like, I think, the most successful streak on this whole record. It starts with Heart Like a Wheel, which is this like sexy, almost, it's kind of the Like a Wrecking Ball of this record, and it's a love song. I've talked about it on this channel before. Then you get to Some of It, which is, if there is a radio single on this album, Some of It is the single. It's kind of a checklist song. It's like some of it you learn the hard way, some you read on a page, and he's going through all these different emotions and where they come from, and it's a sort of fatherly advice song, and it's really beautiful and moving. It sounds so rich, and it's really pleasant to listen to, and it's by far like the most kind of like classic Heartland Eric Church sound on this record. That's followed up by Monsters, which I think is my personal favorite song on the record. One that really, I think, embodies the whole spirit of this record, of Eric Church wrestling with who he could be and who he wants to be. Learning that the monsters aren't underneath the bed, they're actually inside of me. It's got beautiful beautiful lyrics on this, and I have a whole reaction to that song that I recommend listening to. I love the specificity of him praying with his son, and got a mag light to shine a light on the monsters that he thinks are underneath the bed. There's so many beautiful details in that track. And then Hippie Radio is probably my the best version of one of these kind of compilation songs of looking back at records that meant something to him nostalgically, in the same way that Record Year did that for him, and in a much better way than songs like 90s Country by Walker Hayes. Hippie Radio is a way of Eric Church kind of tracking through his life in a way that feels, a lot more organic than just trying to cleverly string together song titles. It's looking back on his life and remembering songs that were on the radio at specific points, whether he was in his dad's Pontiac or whether he was waiting for his, kids to be born and he was pacing around on the maternity floor. And it's got just, when Eric Church writes songs by himself, like on this and another song, Jukebox in a Bar, you end up with lines like, 4 years and 7 days from tying cans to the bumper. I was pacing a maternity floor. My flower baby was a mother. What a cool way of saying 7 years after I got married, my wife had a baby. Tying cans to a bumper, and we just have to put that puzzle piece in ourselves that means a wedding. I love that he does that, and that's stuff that kind of gets erased when people over-edit their songs and too many songwriters, and I love that there's songs like Hippie Radio that Eric Church wrote himself on this album. Another example of great songwriting is Jukebox in a Bar. This song is funny. It's saying, like, we basically have all these ways to make us feel better, and we have all of these, incandescent potions, whether that means drinks or drugs, and we have prescriptions to make us feel better, but for his broken disposition, there's nothing better than a jukebox and a bar. This opening stanza, I gotta read to you. This is on Jukebox in a Bar. They can make cars drive themselves and prove time travel ain't crazy as hell. They've even got a pill to make a soft package hard. That's funny and weird. But as far as we've came, when it comes to love and blame and the breaking of a loved heart, I think we're sorely lacking methods, so I'm going with old time tested, a jukebox and a bar. I love it. It's kind of like the old there's a tear in my beer tradition of country music, of just sometimes you just want to sit and drink. And again, that's coming after songs like Monsters and songs like Some of It and songs like Hippie Radio, where he's kind of been nostalgic and sort of settling into a more fatherly role. Sometimes he still wants to go to the jukebox in a bar. So I feel like we're getting this like beautiful wrestling, this dark and light, and these shades of kind of who Eric Church is that make him so interesting to listen to, because he's a complex artist, and I feel like he is having this sort of soul struggle publicly for us to enjoy. You know what I mean? That's really, I think, encapsulated on Drowning Man, the last song, a song that I wish just pushed harder, that was more anthemic, but he wants to be saved. He describes himself as a drowning man, which I think is really honest and reflective and cool. The sound of this album is one that is reflective, and it's different, and it feels like it's searching. It's not so stable, and in that way I think the music is really onomatopoetic with the lyrics. I think they do kind of enhance each other, but I think a little more of that structure would benefit this album some. So that the hand clapping, the ooh, 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 all through the album, the shakers, and it does create this awesome sort of Rolling Stones vibe, and maybe it's 60s, maybe it's 70s. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I really know the eras of music that well, but I think the songwriting on here is excellent. I think it's really a strong album. I don't think it touches Mr. Misunderstood. I think that is still, for me, the zenith of Eric Church, but I'm really pumped that he's got this album that it does feel, I didn't even mention Ray Wiley Hubbard, but whatever. Watch my Desperate Man review if you want to, of the single, if you want to hear me talk about him. But I think it's cool that Eric Church does what he wants to do. I don't know that there's anyone quite like Chief that is as badass as him, that is doing things that are as interesting and fun to follow, and who's really marketing albums in country music right now. Maybe Casey Musgraves, although it seems like she's kind of eager to leave country music behind, and she might have her reasons. But man, I see you, Eric Church. I like you. I like what you do. You make it fun to be a country fan, and yeah, I'm gonna give this album an 8 out of 10. It's really strong, even with my criticisms of some of the production. I just want them to push a little harder and go there a little more. I'm sure they will live. I still think this gets a strong 8 out of 10. I have a feeling going to make a lot of top 10 lists, and I'm glad for it. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of this record. Let me know if there's anything you think I missed. I didn't talk so much about Higher Wire or Solid or Hanging Around or The Snake. Those aren't my favorite. I think they kind of make the album meander a little bit, but hey, whatever. I still like it a ton. If I could choose singles for the rest of this era, I would go with Monsters, Some of It, and probably Hippie Radio. And then I'd have like a weird last single while we're waiting for his next album of Heart Like a Wheel. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. What songs would you choose as the next singles? Let me know in the comments down below. Give this video a like. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't been here before. I got some cool things planned. I'm going to try and be experimenting with the editing a little more. And YouTube's really cracking down on copyright, so we'll see kind of whether reactions are able to kind of exist in the format they exist in, or if they need to be more reviews. We'll see. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I'm rambling so much. It's nice to be back. It's nice to talk into this little blue light right here. Peace out, guys. Have a very happy Thanksgiving, and spin this record if you got a long drive ahead of you, you know? It's a great road record. Okay, bye.